Um, think about the last time you completely misheard a lyric in a song.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
Right. You know the exact scenario. Like you were driving in your car, the radio is turned way up, and you are just belting out what you are absolutely certain are the correct words.
Totally confident.
Exactly. And because, you love this song, you have probably spent weeks projecting this incredibly deep, profound meaning onto those fake words you just totally made up in your head.
It is such a strange but really universal experience. I mean, you end up building this entire emotional architecture around what you assume the singer's trying to tell you.
Yeah.
But it's all based on a total illusion.
But then the inevitable happens. You are looking at your phone, or maybe you pull up the album notes and you look up the real lyrics.
And that ruins it.
It really does. I swear. The
Yeah.
moment you read those actual words, the song physically changes in your ears. It's a wild sensation.
Yeah, you can literally never unhear the real words once you know them.
The mystery's just gone. Poof.
It's a permanent shift in your perception, really, because your brain effectively hijacks the music in that exact moment.
Hijacks it.
Yeah, it takes all that wonderful, ambiguous mystery you were enjoying, completely clears it out, and just aggressively replaces it with hard, literal data.
When I was looking through our sources for today's deep dive, specifically this really fascinating essay titled Listening Without Translation, it made me realize that moment of unhearing a lyric isn't just some quirky brain glitch.
Well, no, not at all.
It is actually a biological turf war happening right inside your skull.
Right.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're going to ask you to do something radically uncomfortable, which is to, consciously embrace the act of not knowing.
Which is hard for us.
Super hard.
Yeah.
We're looking into the hidden neuroscience of how our brains process sound, the heavy evolutionary baggage we drag into every concert hall, and how one incredibly obscure band from Quebec somehow figured out a way to short-circuit human biology.
And just setting the stakes for all of this before we jump in, this isn't merely a deep dive into musical theory. Ultimately, the essay frames this as a pretty sharp critique of our modern era. Like, we live in a time where we demand instant comprehension of absolutely everything.
We want all the answers right now.
Exactly. We feel like if we don't immediately understand a piece of art, either the art is failing us or, we are failing the art.
Yeah.
We're just absolutely terrified of not getting the point.
So to understand how our brains hijack a song in the first place, we have to start by dismantling a massive cliche.
Oh, the biggest one.
Yeah, it's the one you hear everywhere, right? Music is the universal language.
Right, which looks fantastic on a bumper sticker.
It really does.
And, it feels intuitively true to most of us. But biologically speaking, it is completely false.
Completely.
Completely. Neuroscience reveals that language and music are actually opposing forces. They are locked in this constant tug of war, literally fighting over the exact same auditory hardware in your brain.
Wait, how are they opposing forces? I mean, they both involve sound, they both use the ears, they both involve vocal cords. Why would they be fighting?
Well, it comes down to their evolutionary purpose. Think about why human language evolved in the first place.
To communicate, right?
Yes, but specifically to reduce ambiguity. Imagine our ancient ancestors out foraging. If someone needed to warn the group about a predator, you couldn't afford to be poetic or vague.
Oh, I see.
You need strict grammar, highly specific vocabulary, and zero confusion. You need to say, the tiger is behind the large rock, not sing a beautiful melody about the general concept of danger.
Right, a melody isn't going to save you from a tiger.
Exactly. So to pull that off, language relies heavily on two specific areas in the left hemisphere of your brain, Wernicke's area and Broca's area.
Okay, I have definitely heard of Wernicke's area from previous deep dives we've done, but what exactly does Broca's area do in this context?
You can think of Wernicke's area as your brain's internal dictionary, so it handles the comprehension of the words themselves.
Okay, the dictionary, got it.
And Broca's area is more like a strict traffic cop. It handles speech production and the really rigid mathematical rules of grammar.
Ah, so they work together.
Right. Together, they work to narrow the massive chaotic world down to a single, highly specific point of data.
Okay, that makes total sense for language. What about music, then?
Music evolved to do the exact opposite. Music exists to create ambiguity.
To create it.
Yes. Instead of narrowing things down to a single data point, it opens up multiple meanings simultaneously. It primarily activates the right hemisphere, building this broad, expansive emotional landscape, rather than delivering a strict survival-based fact.
Okay, let me see if I'm getting this. Let's unpack this with an analogy.
Sure.
Language is essentially a GPS. It's a voice directing you to a very specific, literal, exact address. You take a left, you take a right, you arrive at the destination.
Terrific.
So music is, well, it's just taking a scenic drive with absolutely no destination in mind.
Yeah.
You're just enjoying the feeling of the road, looking out the window.
That is a great way to look at it. And what's terrifying about that GPS taking the wheel is the sheer speed at which it happens in your head.
How fast are we talking?
The exact millisecond your brain detects a recognizable word playing over a melody, your left hemisphere goes into absolute overdrive.
It just takes over.
Totally takes over. It aggressively scans the sound for syntax, grammatical rules, and semantic meaning. And the moment it locks onto those things, all the acoustic properties of the song, the pitch, the singer's fragile breath, the texture of the sound, they are completely overridden.
Wow.
The human voice instantly transforms from a musical instrument into a dictionary.
But hang on a second. If my brain is just this, like, biological GPS demanding a literal destination, why do I actually enjoy listening to music with words at all?
That's a really good question.
Right. Should my brain just view a pop song as a really inefficient, annoying way to communicate? Like, just tell me the data.
That brings us to the psychological mechanics of the predictive brain. To understand why we love it, we have to look at the Zeigarnik effect. Are you familiar with that concept?
The name sounds super familiar, but remind me how it actually works in this context.
So, the Zeigarnik effect is a psychological principle stating that the human brain fundamentally hates unfinished tasks.
Oh, right. We need closure.
We crave it. We are biologically wired to constantly try to predict what happens next because predicting the future minimizes surprise. And evolutionarily speaking, minimizing surprise keeps us safe from threats.
That makes sense. Keep the surprises to a minimum so we don't get eaten.
Exactly. And pop music explicitly exploits this through a mechanism called predictive coding.
Ah, so this is about tension and release in a song.
Exactly that. A songwriter will write a verse that slowly builds up musical tension. As you listen, your brain automatically predicts the exact chord progression that is coming, or, the exact rhyming word that is about to land at the end of the sentence.
Like if they say fire, your brain is waiting for desire.
Yes. And when the band hits that exact chord, or the singer hits that exact rhyme, your brain rewards you.
Oh, you literally get a dopamine hit for guessing the pattern correctly.
Yes, you do. You are biologically incentivized to demand the dictionary translation of the music. Your brain wants the puzzle solved so it can get its little dopamine reward.
Which brings us to, honestly, the most mind-bending part of our sources today.
The Quebec band.
Yes. What happens when an artist deliberately breaks your internal GPS? The essay highlights this totally obscure underground band from Quebec called Angine de Poitrine.
They are so fascinating.
They really are. They technically sing in French, but they have completely weaponized this biological cycle we just talked about.
It is genuinely astonishing what they do in the studio. They play with the French language in a way that deliberately starves the listener's brain of that expected dopamine hit we just discussed.
You just withhold it.
Exactly. The singer stretches their pronunciation out into these bizarre, unrecognizable shapes.
But how do they actually do that without just singing total gibberish? I mean, they are still singing words, right?
Yes, but they systematically dissolve the hard consonants.
Consonants.
Yeah. Consonants are what give human language its structure. They are the hard edges that separate one word from another so that Broca's area, the traffic cop, can actually process the grammar.
So they just remove the hard edges?
This band just melts them away, and then they take the vowels and use them purely as percussive, rhythmic elements rather than actual components of a recognizable word.
That's wild.
So instead of just delaying your brain's predictions to build tension like a normal pop song, they abandon those predictions in midair. You never get the resolution.
Wait, I have to stop you there.
Okay.
Because if you starve my brain of the dopamine it biologically craves, I'm not going to reach some higher state of musical appreciation. I'm going to get incredibly frustrated.
Well, yes.
I mean, to use another analogy, it sounds like having a smartphone where the autocorrect feature is permanently glued to the on position, but it is broken.
Well, that sounds awful.
Right. You are trying to type a message, and it just keeps guessing the wrong word over and over, refusing to let you finish a simple sentence. That frustration threshold is huge. Why wouldn't someone just, turn the song off?
What's fascinating here is that frustration threshold you are describing is a very real biological hurdle, and you aren't wrong to think people might turn it off.
I know. I would be tempted to.
Initially, when you listen to Angine de Poitrine, your left hemisphere is frantic. It keeps firing off emergency signals to Wernicke's area, demanding a translation. It's essentially screaming, "What is the word? Give me the data."
But the data never comes.
It never comes. And this is where the biology gets really incredible, because the left hemisphere is completely deprived of semantic data, yet it keeps frantically trying to process it. It eventually just exhausts itself.
It just tires out.
We are talking about literal cognitive fatigue. The neural pathways in the language centers get tired. The brain recognizes that this is a massive waste of energy, so it actively reroutes the blood flow and electrical activity away from the frustrated language centers. Yeah, and it shifts the processing burden entirely over to the acoustic centers in the right hemisphere. That moment of sheer mental exhaustion leads to a total unconditional surrender by the left hemisphere.
And according to the essay, that surrender triggers a profound shift in human consciousness.
It really does.
Because your auditory cortex is still receiving all this massive sensory input from the song, but the demand for semantic meaning, for the dictionary definitions, has dropped to zero. So your attention just widens. It's like a camera lens opening all the way up.
Yes, you shift from semantic processing to pure acoustic processing. When you aren't obsessing over the exact definition of the lyrics, you suddenly start noticing the negative space in the music.
Stuff you usually miss.
Exactly. You notice the microscopic syncopation of the beat. You hear the tiny fluctuations in the singer's breath that you were completely ignoring just a minute ago.
The voice becomes this physical, three-dimensional, almost sculptural object.
That's a great way to describe it.
You stop treating the singer's voice as just a delivery truck dropping off a package of words. You actually hear the friction of the vocal cords vibrating. You hear the rush of air escaping the lungs and hitting the microphone.
It becomes tactile.
Yeah, the essay uses this incredible tactile metaphor for it. It says it's like running your hands over a rough stone to physically feel its weight, its temperature, and its material reality, rather than just standing back and reading an informational sign carved into the front of it.
And when you finally feel the weight of that stone, you are actually engaging in a very real form of evolutionary time travel.
Okay, wait. Evolutionary time travel. How does acoustic processing take us back in time?
By tapping into a primal piece of hardware called affective prosody.
Affective prosody. Okay, what is that?
Hundreds of thousands of years before human beings ever invented syntax or grammar. I mean, long before Broca's or Wernicke's areas developed into what they are today, our ancestors still needed to communicate with each other.
Right, they lived in groups.
Exactly, and they communicated intense life or death emotion through the pitch, tone, and volume of their voices alone.
Because meaning didn't start with vocabulary. It started with sound.
Exactly, and that ancient hardware is still running perfectly in your brain today. We can actually see it in infants.
Oh, like how babies respond to voices.
Yes. Babies understand the emotional tone of their parents' voices, the comfort, the sharp warning, the joy, long before they comprehend a single noun or verb.
That makes total sense.
Or even as an adult, think about walking down the street and hearing a stranger weeping. Or hearing the sharp, desperate intake of breath someone makes during a panic attack.
You don't need words for that.
No, you don't need subtitles for that. You don't wait for a translation to process it. You feel it in your nervous system instantly.
Oh, this makes so much sense. It's just like watching an intensely emotional foreign film without the subtitles turned on.
Yes. Have you ever done this?
Yes, and it's amazing because if you're watching a movie in a language you don't speak and you have the English subtitles on, your eyes are just glued to the bottom of the screen.
You're just reading.
Right. You are entirely focused on the data transfer. But the second you turn those subtitles off, your brain stops interrogating the text. And suddenly you notice everything else.
The acting.
Exactly. You notice every subtle shift in the actor's posture, their trembling hands, the micro-expressions on their face. You experience the raw emotion because you aren't distracted by the data.
That is the exact mechanism at play. Acoustic cues bypass the logical, translating centers of the brain entirely.
They just skip it.
To put it simply, they skip the neocortex, which is the part of your brain trying to do the logical math of a sentence, and they take a fast track straight to the limbic system, which is your primal emotion center. Language teaches us what things mean, but sound teaches us what things feel like.
So what does this all mean for the music we listen to today?
It has huge implications.
Because I'm picturing an incredibly talented songwriter sitting in a studio somewhere, agonizing for 6 months over a single lyric, trying to find the absolute perfect word. If this primal mechanism is true, and sound hits the limbic system faster than grammar hits the neocortex, are they wasting their time? Are lyrics actually getting in the way of us feeling the music?
It is definitely a provocative question, but the global data suggests that yes, sometimes they are actually getting in the way.
Really?
You just have to look at the massive shift in how we consume music globally right now to see effective prosody in action on a macro scale.
Oh, you're talking about the explosion of international pop music over the last decade.
Exactly. Look at the global dominance of K-pop, Spanish reggaeton, Japanese rock, and Nigerian Afrobeats.
It's everywhere.
There are hundreds of millions of people all over the world forming deep, lifelong, visceral, emotional connections to songs where the vocabulary is a total mystery to their left hemisphere.
It's so true. You see videos of fans weeping in the front row of stadiums, singing along phonetically to songs where they couldn't translate a single verb the singer is actually using.
They don't need to translate the verbs because rhythm travels faster than vocabulary. The cadence of human emotion hits the nervous system so much faster than grammar can ever be processed.
If we pull back and look at the bigger picture here, the essay argues that this biological quirk actually serves as a critique of how we live our modern lives.
And this is where it gets really philosophically interesting.
Yeah, because we live in a hyper-informational ecosystem. We have search engines in our pockets at all times. We demand closed captions on every single video we watch on our phones. We expect instant, literal explanations for everything we encounter.
We have become, frankly, entirely intolerant of mystery. Whenever we encounter a new piece of art or a new song or a complex film, our default setting is to treat it like an escape room puzzle that must be solved.
Yes, we cross our arms and say, okay, solve this for me.
We ask, what is the hidden political meaning here? What is the cultural reference I'm supposed to be getting? We constantly interrogate the art, demanding that it give us data instead of just experiencing the art.
The author of the essay uses this brilliant metaphor to explain how broken this mindset is. They write that searching for meaning is totally fine, but you don't try to translate a thunderstorm.
It's such a striking image.
Right. You don't stand in your backyard looking up the dictionary definition of lightning. You don't ask what the syntax of the rain is.
You look ridiculous.
Just stand there and you experience the weather. You feel the atmosphere change around you. You feel the drop in temperature.
Yeah.
And we tragically confuse the two when it comes to art. We think that by memorizing the dictionary definition of a song's lyrics, we have fully understood the song.
We completely trick ourselves into believing that certainty is the same thing as resonance, but it isn't. Certainty is just data. When you engage in what the essay calls post-translation listening, you prioritize absolute presence over decoding. You let go of the rigid grammar, and you just let the sound embody reality inside of you.
Okay, let's unpack the core takeaway from all these sources we've looked at today. What this all points to is that the true resonant feeling in music does not live inside the neat, orderly boxes of dictionary definitions.
Not at all.
The magic lives in the negative space between the words. It lives in the friction, the breath, and the physical reality of the human voice. When you finally allow that internal autocorrect in your brain to exhaust itself and turn off, you actually start listening.
And before we wrap up, this raises an incredibly powerful, actionable thought for you to mull over.
Okay, I love this.
We've talked a lot about music, global pop stars, and recording studios, but how might your everyday relationships change if you applied this concept of post-translation listening to the people you love?
Oh, wow. Taking this out of the headphones and into the real world.
Exactly. Imagine the next time you are in a heated, frustrating argument with a partner or a family member. You're standing in the kitchen arguing over something that seems so important in the moment.
We've all been in that kitchen.
What if, for just 60 seconds, you stopped acting like a lawyer? What if you stopped looking for a loophole in their syntax or obsessing over the exact dictionary definition of the clumsy, angry words they are hurling at you?
Just completely, intentionally shut down Wernicke's area. Stop treating their sentence like an escape room puzzle.
Turn off the translating brain entirely, and for 1 minute, just listen to the weather of their voice.
Just the weather.
If you tune out the data transfer, you might hear their profound exhaustion. You might hear their underlying fear or, the desperate need for connection that their awkward, angry words are just clumsily covering up. You might finally hear what they're actually trying to say, rather than just what they are speaking.
That is an incredible challenge. Which brings us to your homework for today's deep dive. Sometime this week, we want you to go find a song in a language you absolutely do not speak. Put on a good pair of headphones. Consciously turn off that interrogating, GPS-obsessed part of your brain and just listen to the weather. Because just like that moment when you realize you misheard a lyric and all the mystery evaporates into hard data, We want you to try and reverse the process. Let go of the destination, take the scenic drive, and you might finally hear the music.